Good evening and welcome to June 12th's Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Committee meeting. Chair Dunham Sims, would you like to begin the call to order?
Let's call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Next slide, please. So we're going to begin with an introduction with our new committee member. We do have Crystal Pasco here with us today and just wanted to welcome you to the committee. Okay. So we're going to begin with roll call. Member Oliver Collins.
Present.
Member Ben Doyle.
Here.
Chair Faith Dunham Sims.
Present.
Vice Chair Kent Moriarty.
I'm here.
Member Crystal Pasco.
Present.
Okay, and my name is KJ. I'll be presiding over today's meeting. Next slide, okay. Next, we would like to discuss the approval of the minutes for May 8th, 2024. Just wanted to ask the committee if you have any comments regarding last meeting. No? So I see
So that I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
a second.
I'll second.
Member Oliver Collins.
Yes.
Member Ben Doyle.
Aye.
Chair Faith Dunham Sims.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kent Moriarty.
Approve.
Member Crystal Pasco.
I abstain.
Okay. Motion passes. Next slide, please. Committee members, do you have anything to report?
I just want to make a quick report just to introduce myself properly. Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal Pasco. I'm happy to be here. Recently moved to Pinole just over a year ago. And in my professional life, I'm a senior analyst at the Alameda County Transportation Commission. I oversee our Safe Routes to Schools, our Student Transit Pass, and our Paratransit program. And I'm really excited to bring my knowledge and experience to this space. And I appreciate in advance your patience as I get up to speed and learn everything about the committee. So thank you.
And welcome again. So next slide is citizens to be heard. I just wanted to note that for these items, these are for anything that's not on the agenda. And I just want to note to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment? So no comments at this time. Next slide, please. We'll go over traffic and pedestrian safety issues. We're going to start with the first one, which were submitted by citizens. This one was a request for ADA curb ramps on 2 corners at Marianola Way and Tesoro Court. And we are working on gathering a list and compiling all the locations of where these are needed as they come in and are reported to the city. So I just wanted to make the committee aware of that, okay? Does the committee have any comments regarding curb ramps or this particular location?
It's my understanding that if they make any changes to a street or pour slurry under recent law, aren't they supposed to automatically put in the ramps?
That is correct to some degree. For a general slurry, the city are not obligated to update curb ramp infrastructure. However, if we do like a chip seal slurry, which is a little bit thicker, that would trigger that requirement to update any curb ramps along the route of the restoration area.
And so then obviously the last repaving they did on the street didn't qualify for the chip seal that you mentioned. So when folks call in and ask for ramps to be installed, you said it's going to go on a list. Does the city have an obligation then to put them in if they've been requested?
The city does have some oversight on the repair of the curb ramps, and each curb ramp is assessed to a high degree. Right now, we are focusing on high traffic areas such as downtown and Fitzgerald, if there's any areas there that need to be addressed. And this is something that may need to be discussed further with Sanjay, our Director of Public Works. Okay.
I have a comment. I just wanted to thank the person that emailed this in, and the photographs, very clear description of what the concern was, and we do appreciate and encourage the community to make reports to the traffic committee staff and to or the city staff for issues like this. I think it's important that everybody be an advocate for the safe sidewalks and access for everyone. So thank you.
Are there any additional comments, whether from the committee or from the public? I see no comments. We'll move on to the next item. Item 6B. These are agenda items requested by the committee. Number one, I believe this was from the last meeting, was ATP presentation to the committee members for review and feedback. I was going to discuss this a little further for the ATP side, but the ATP is wrapping up with their public comments, and we should start seeing the first draft of the ATP sometime in July. And at that time, there should be a public workshop. Right now, that's still to be determined, when that's going to happen and the time. And we're trying to coordinate with the consultant of, when would be the best time to host that public workshop. And this workshop is going to be in person, from my understanding.
How much longer does the public have to make comment on it?
As soon as possible. From my understanding that, they removed the public boards from City Hall. So they would have to go onto the city website, pinolespeaks.com /ATP to comment further on any areas that they have questions or concerns about.
So I guess the way it was, the way the process is described on the website is that there's public comment and then the draft occurs and then it goes to council. But actually, since it's been changed around a little bit and a public workshop is going to occur after the draft has been written, I guess we should really consider the public engagement period still open, like that, because the public workshop is, I think, one of the most important parts of the public engagement. So I hope we don't consider the public engagement period closed because we still haven't had a public workshop. And I think it's might be a fine idea that we're doing it this somewhat strange way where we're doing the public workshop after the draft has been released. I mean, that might make sense because there's more to comment on, but I think it's important that we don't consider the public engagement closed because there hasn't been a public, that we don't consider the public engagement closed because there hasn't been a public workshop, which is an important part of that.
Yeah, that's noted. So I'll reach back out to the director regarding your comments, Kent, and see where he wants to go with that. Okay.
And I don't think it's anything different from what you just said. It's just making it clear. Yeah.
Item number 2 was the request for a draft list of all the grants to identify transportation, pedestrian, and bicycle safety related grants. The city is working with the consultant to gather all those lists that are currently being applied for. So hopefully by next meeting, we'll have a full list for the committee to take a look at.
If I can make a comment, some of the grants ask for letters of interest or letters of support from stakeholders. So when that list comes out for the community, that if you support one of the grants or that the city's going to go attempt and apply for, letters of support would be greatly appreciated by the applicant staff, and also if the city is going to apply for a grant, I think as a committee for the city would write a letter of support for whoever the applicant is to do that. But I think that shows the community support and interest in some of these grants.
I just wanted to go back, if I could, for a second to the ATP portion. When we were talking about public engagement, not only did we talk about a public workshop, but we also talked about somehow using this venue as a way to engage the public in the ATP, because it's that's what we're here for. But we haven't done that, and I don't know that we've come up with a clear way of doing that. Like, there's never been any public engagement, back and forth conversation about the ATP here, and we talked about trying to figure out a way to make that happen in this venue, and I just don't want to forget about it, because I think that's something that we all thought was an appropriate thing for TAPS to do, and a good way to use this body.
Before we move on, we have a caller from the public. The caller is listed as Kristen. You have 3 minutes for your comments, please, and please introduce yourself for the record. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kristen Osias. I actually was trying to speak about item 6A. I think that you guys have moved on to the next item. I just heard the last few minutes of the discussion, so I don't know if I'm able to actually chime in on that now. But my only question to the committee is, I didn't really gather what next steps would be for that particular handicap access on those corners. I didn't gather what the next steps would be, so that's the only question I have.
So, Kristen, thank you for your question. The next step would be to review the curb ramps. So staff members will go out, take a look at the 2 corners of what was indicated in the email. And from that assessment, it will be brought forward to our city director to review the request. Right now, the curb ramps have been placed onto a list for curb ramps that need to be addressed all around the city, and that list is currently being worked on and being drafted, hopefully, in the future.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that update, and I appreciate staff for bringing this to the committee's attention. Thank you.
So we'll move on to item 3 under 6B, which was an update for a CIP project, the arterial rehab on Pinole Valley Road. After discussions internally, we can provide the committee a copy of the striping plans or the full set. of the proposed plan for Pinole Valley Road. I do want to note that these plans have already been completed in terms of design, but you can feel free to take a look at the striping as we can possibly make a few changes. Okay, and this is from Savage Avenue all the way to the end of city limits.
I just wanted to say why I asked for that in the first place. The reason is because the consultant, when they're looking at Pinole Valley Road as far as active transportation perspective, they're only looking at it down to Savage because they're assuming that since from Savage to city limits, it's already part of this ongoing project, there's no reason to include that as part of their plan. And so I thought it's important that this restriping consider the active transportation perspective, because if it doesn't, then we're not looking at all of Pinole Valley Road from active transportation perspective. And so I wonder, and I guess we're going to get to look at it, but does that restriping improve that road from the active transportation perspective at all? Did it, or was that part of the scope to, as far as at least the striping part, to improve active transportation? Because when I read in the CIP, it talks about curb ramps, road rehab, and restriping, but that's, I don't know if that's just neutral or if that's going to improve the active transportation.
So that's a good question. We reviewed the plans again recently because, as the committee knows, it's still going through a grant review. And currently, with the striping plans, we did update signage for schools. We did put in slow down signs around the park. We've also added new bike lanes along that corridor. So there is an upgrade for the restriping to match what the ATP is,
Great.
planning for.
Excellent.
Do we have any additional comments on item 6B? So no comments. We'll move on to the next item, item 6C. We do have one update from the table, and this is for Wright Avenue and Carroll Avenue for the stop sign at that intersection. We did reach out to our maintenance department to confirm when they're able to install that new sign, and we're hoping that it'll be completed in the summer of 2024. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. So as far as the Caltrans right-of-way, I do want to note the web link on the slide. This is a great link to report any Caltrans issues related to the freeway, as well as the on and off ramps around Pinole. So I just want to make the residents aware that there are jurisdictional boundaries for maintenance for Pinole maintenance workers, as well as for Caltrans. So I just want to make sure that the public is aware of that distinction, and to report any issues on the overpass or near the on and off ramps to this Caltrans website. Next slide, please. I'll be going over some staff updates, and the first one will be for the police department. Unfortunately, the traffic officer is in a training right now and wasn't able to be present today, but she did want to share some information. And that is once the engineering survey has been completed and the locations have been identified by that survey, Officer Eubanks would be able to begin enforcing speed limits around the areas of downtown and Pinole Valley Road. I know that it has been a concern for a lot of residents in terms of speed traffic on the roadway. So once that survey again is completed, the traffic officer would be able to begin her enforcement of the areas. Officer Eubanks also wanted to note that there is a interactive tool which allows the public to review call for service, arrest information, crime mapping, and other items. And that program is called Citizen RIMS, and that is located on our city website and can be found under the Department of the Police Department. Do we have any questions, comments? Okay. No. Next item, please, or next slide. We do have a list of CIP projects. Not all of them are related to traffic and safety and pedestrians, but we do still have the Appian and Marlesta intersection project. That one for sure is traffic related. We are working administratively to close out the project. There's just been a few punch list items that still need to be addressed by the contractor. Okay. Currently, we do have a few projects around the city. One that has started, that is the sanitary sewer rehab project, phase 1. This one is located on Orleans and Tennant. And I just want to let residents know to please drive carefully through the area and obey any traffic signs that are in place. Again, if you want more information regarding this project, that can be found on the web link on the slide. The next one is the Pinion Trunk Sewer Capacity Phase 2 project. This one was just recently awarded. Not awarded, but it's currently being under review for completeness. So the bid was completed last week, and our staff right now are reviewing those bid documents. Okay. The next one is the storm damage repair work. This one is for a dig out project, and we're still reviewing the bidders that we recently obtained on the 11th, so yesterday. Yeah. Any questions regarding the CIP projects?
I have a couple. One is I've brought up a number of times on San Pablo or Pinole Valley Road, westbound, I guess, near Shea and Granada Court. There's a area where the road necks down on a blind curve and bicyclists and cars are suddenly on top of one another. It necks down in a pretty severe way. And we've talked about it, that it's an issue, it's dangerous. And the answer I get is that, well, when the RO 1708 Pinole Valley Road improvements, that capital improvement project involves repaving that little area. And so the answer I get is, well, let's wait until this project starts, which makes sense. It doesn't make, that's when it should happen. But I asked that there be a note in that item that mentions that this bottleneck should be addressed, because otherwise it could end up being just a repaving and a restriping exactly the way it is, and we missed our opportunity to fix that. And so I asked if we could at least have a note in that item that includes that as one of the objectives to fix that. And it's not in there, and it wasn't in there on the revision of July 4th. So I wanted to, and Director Mishra said he'd do that, so I'd like to ask again that be included, that we don't lose that as one of the objectives of that item.
So I will, relay that information, Kent, to Director Mishra, and then get back to the committee regarding, what's going to happen. As far as a review of the project, we'll determine when that would be possible, because a lot of these projects right now are, still in the planning phases.
Yeah, and I'm just asking that it be part of the scope, that we don't forget that that's a problem that needs to be solved as part of the project. And if the project goes ahead and it doesn't include addressing that, then we've lost our opportunity. I had one other CIP, I guess, comment, kind of a new one, RO 2403, Old Town Traffic Calming. That sounds pretty exciting and of interest to this group. I guess we don't know anything about it, it's quite new, but I guess I just wanted to mention it and make sure that the ATP consultants are aware of it and that there aren't two kind of parallel things going on and they're not talking to each other. I don't know if you know if that's something that they're aware of or is included in the scope of what their plan.
I'm not too familiar with that project, so I'll have to reach out to Director Mishra for more information.
Okay.
Next slide, please. Development projects, we do have one that is currently under review by the Planning Department, and this is for the Pinole Shores Phase 2 redesign. This can be reviewed on our city website under the Planning Department. Okay. Active transportation plan. CEC meeting was held. The ATP, again, the website is linked on the slide. I just want to let the public know to comment and review all the proposed bike infrastructure as well as any issues that they're seeing on the survey map as soon as possible so that our consultants can gather their comments and review accordingly for the proposed draft in July. Grants update, we're working with Contra Costa County to seek Safe Streets and Roads for All, a grant program for the Pinole Valley Road project, which is still being evaluated as a possible project. Okay.
What is that Pinole Valley Road project?
So that is the arterial rehab project from Savage Avenue to city limits.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Item number 8, this is the list of contacts that the public can reach out to for comments or concerns that they want to bring to the committee. If you do have any maintenance related issues, feel free to email us at the Public Works service request, and we will take care of any of those issues as soon as possible. Okay.
Correction to just strike the M from my email. It's just K Pasco.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll make sure that's edited.
Thank you.
And so I'd like to ask the committee if they have any future agenda items for July.
I just realized I don't have a future agenda item, but I should have said this under staff reports earlier, I wanted to let you know of a sightline visibility hazard right out here on Pear Street, the corner of Pear and Oak Ridge. If you're on Pear, going towards Oak Ridge and you're wanting to make a left onto Oak Ridge, you absolutely cannot see cars coming from the right because of all the shrubberies growing out. I believe that's a church there on the corner. So you have to nose way out into oncoming traffic to be able to see to make your left, if you follow my. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so the staff will evaluate the site triangle for that. And then if it is in the city right of way, we'll address those concerns as soon as possible. If it is determined that it is on the church's property, we can notify the church.
I have a future agenda item. I was just thinking, we were talking about how do we incorporate public engagement on the ATP in this meeting, and you were saying that the draft may be available in July, and I guess it probably wouldn't be available before this next meeting. But I wonder if, when the draft is available, and it's before one of our TAPS meetings, if we could put that on the, I guess when it's available, it will be available to the public, right? And so, could we put that on the agenda for one of our meetings so the public could go look at it and think about it, and then this would be a venue where they could make comments on the draft, instead of only being able to do it, say, via a public workshop, which you can't pick one date that works for everybody. But this would be another way for the public to comment on the draft ATP.
So to clarify, Kent, are you asking to hold, if the draft is completed prior to the next meeting, to hold a public discussion here at the TAPS?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just an additional place where it's on the agenda and the public has a chance to have looked at the draft and bring their comments here.
Do we have any additional future agenda items?
Thank you. I don't necessarily have a future agenda item, but I do want to let all the residents know that hope they have a happy 4th of July and that we don't have illegal fireworks in our city, and we try to avoid any fire hazards. But everyone have a happy 4th of July, and we'll convene after that. And so that's all.
An ear infection from last week that I've taken antibiotics for and been treated for has left me with highly reduced hearing. So if you explained this already, forgive me. But agenda item 6B, number 1, the active transportation presentation to the committee for review and feedback. Is that, I didn't see that today. Is that going to be rescheduled?
That would have to be rescheduled. Once we determine, when staff have the capacity to present to.
I can't hear any of that. But
So,
scheduled sounds good.
yeah.
I guess when we're talking about a presentation and a time to comment on the draft, that's kind of the same thing, right? We'll be presenting the draft. There's not going to be a separate presentation before the draft is ready.
To my understanding, that is correct, Kent. It might be one and the same.
Yeah.
And that's something that, we'll look at. Once we see the draft, we'll let the committee know that it has been completed and pass that to the committee for review.
And it'll be available to the
To the
public
public.
at the same time. Okay.
Chair Dunham Sims, would you like to adjourn?
So we will adjourn this meeting until July 10th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for your participation.